Right, I brought this design along a little bit further, and in trying to get to a foundation plan application. And this is a film just to review a few of those things and give you some guidance, hopefully. So this was, if we keep these roof pitches up here at 612, the widest I'm able to get inside is 14.4. That is because I'm leaving this 12-inch overhang here for a margin here, and then we're limited by these windows. That's what limits us, is the windows. We drop that to 612, we get all the way out to 16 foot wide, and 512 is like 15 foot wide. And if you thought 15 was alright, that would probably work pretty nice. And if you did a 15 foot wide with trusses, then you'd have a 512 over 312 with an inside dimension of 9.7. If you do trusses. If you do stick built, it's like that. When we get out to the 412 pitch, on that one I would not recommend trusses. It's just such a low pitch inside. So when we got to 412, I would recommend stick framing that. It's 2 LVLs here, and it's really just 2 by 8s at each of the margins. Now ignore this piece here, it's not going to be required, but we'll have a vertical here. But this was the 612 roof pitches here, just from overhead to give you an idea, and then slide the stairs over that way. I presume you will have to decide where you want each of these doors, the one on this side and the one on this side. You'll have to decide. I assume this is where you'd want that one, but this is dropping to the 412 pitch then. And I'm not really worried about this, being different than these other ones. You really can't pick it up too much from the ground anyway. You will not be able to do this situation where this is divided 3 ways, because we're going to need a center column. If we do this in a stick frame, we're going to need a center column to hold that beam up, those LVLs. I'm not crazy about this detail here, but I'm not sure what else can be done about it besides something probably pretty expensive. I do think it works better with the lower pitch roof than it did the upper or the higher pitch roof. And then once you determine the final location of these 2 doors, you have to determine how you're going to divide these spaces up here. And they make these windows, the 4 panel vertical windows, up to 72 inches wide. So these openings, as I have it set up here, these openings are 7 foot wide, and these are 8 foot wide. So the least you can use is two units to cover this. This would be 2 42-inch wide units, and this would be 2 46 or 47-inch wide units, like that. I have not modeled these until I was just working on getting the foundation plan done, but it is something I'll model for you, whether we go 2 wide, and then 2 wide, and then 2 wide. I would think that we would want to keep it like that. No need to put additional framework in there clogging up the view. So that's what I'm assuming we're going to do, is 2 wide, 2 wide, 2 wide all the way around. But we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So once I ran with the 16 foot wide inside for the moment, I kind of arbitrarily chose it's about 19 deep from here to here. That might be deeper than you had planned on. So at that 19 foot deep, you end up with about 18.6 from the brick wall to the inside of these 6-inch finished columns, 18.6. And if you wanted to get these side openings, I don't know what we do with this door over here, but if you wanted to get these sides down where you could just go 1 unit wide, you would have to trim this back to about 16.6 inside, because we would have to bring that back a couple feet so that we get these openings below 6 feet, so we could use 1-1. We would still be splitting this 2 ways, because this is over 6 feet wide here. And we get that 19 foot, this is the red is your patio part here, and this is the county photo overlay. And you can see pretty clear, this is your fire ring here. These, I took dimensions for these trees, kind of eyed them up with these windows, and these 3 circles here are those 3 trees that you have out there. So you can lay this out if it's not roasting out, you can lay this out and see if that's too wide. Now we could just pull it back a foot. You'd still have 2 windows in here, too wide on each of those, which is probably the way to go, so we maintain a similar look around here, 2, 2, 2, 2. And then there's a discussion of whether that door is where I'm showing it here, or down against here, or where that column there is aligned with this one, so that this opening is the same as that one, and then our door's in the middle, and so we have an opening this size and this size here and down here. But that'll, the location of that door. But here's the overlay and approximate locations and how close we come to these trees here. And here it is without the overlay, with just a square patio shown for the moment. And then I just was horsing around with some patios and stairs down to grade. This is that square one, and this is just a continuous stair all the way to the grade. These are just kind of experimenting around. A partial stair that comes forward, and then we have a wraparound that kind of dies into the ground here. I didn't think this was too cool. This is kind of a smaller one, 400 square feet, neat and clean. And then we start pushing out a little bit, get another 50 feet or so. And this is like a 4x6 table with the chairs, etc. Maybe we push out even further, pushing up toward 500 feet. I don't know if this begins to get too large for you. We didn't really talk about the size of that patio. And here's that door. That was where I originally showed it, where there was an alignment with this column. These columns were aligned here. And I'm showing that door as a 40-inch wide, and this is a 3-foot wide. They make these to order, so you can make this whatever width. I made this a little wider than the standard front door one. That's another thing you have to finalize. If 3 foot's enough, maybe you just want to go 3 feet. And there was a couple others I returned here. Look at a few additional patios. This sort of a thing here, 505. You can see them a little larger here. I kind of like this one, probably the best. But now we can look at these from overhead as well. I think you can see them better from over here than you can the ground. And just to run through them, this was that continuous stair, slight break, and wrapping around, dying into the ground, pushing it forward a little bit, and recessing it. I like this one. Recessing even more, making it smaller, and then we get into some curves, and bigger still. And that's your table. And there's this one. That was the final one I drew, and the endeavor there was to try to get the front end of this step more toward between these trees. This is with those trees. One of the things I tried to do with this plan, you can see the difference between these two, is get those stairs where they're coming out more between these trees here, with this patio here. But I think either of those would work. I mean, any of these will work. But it was things for you to think about. And ours, I assume, will be like this. We will have a box across the top, some sort of a little box. I don't know if that's shown. It's like this here. I have this is about 7 inches tall. Didn't need to be that tall, but it actually looks better. It interfaced better at these ends when it was a little taller. And then there will be a curb at the bottom, 5 or 6 inches high, depending on what you think. And then one other thing I want to talk about is the drainage on all of this patio work. I have everything sloping. The minimum, this one that's undercover isn't that big a deal, but I have that sloping an 1/8 inch per foot, and the same with this. Maybe this slopes a little bit more, but I only have this at an 1/8 inch per foot because it's covered and it's got those window things around it. We were going to slope it all the way down here and then put some sort of a linear drain down here. And maybe there's two, one here, and those come out and tie in with these things here if you want to hose that porch off. Alright, and I don't know how helpful this is just the looks from this northeast corner, how it is now, and then this is with that 19 deep with a straight square patio. There's the single linear step. These are just these different patios with that 19 foot deep by 16 wide structure, 412 pitch. See, I guess it fights a little less with this roof when it's down and doesn't encroach on this window, I think. Here's the shift of that door. Do we keep it down there? Do we move it toward the center so that we have even openings on each side of that main section of the room? You would have to decide that. This is where these patios start coming out. And I think that is going to be about it. It looks like you would have to build up the grade. You see a little shadow here. You can see it's getting a little close, but that would be built up a little. Remember the final thing then, I ended up from the back side of that tree about 3'10". Right here between the edge of that tree, if it's 12 or 14 inches, you have about 3'10" here. But this is all open through here. So maybe this is just a garden bed that kind of gets up to this tree. I don't know. These are the things to think about with regard to the patio, with regard to the splitting of these windows, with regard to where this door comes in, and if you are okay with this 412 pitch, 16 wide inside. The final thing then would be whether this 19 is too deep. And I think that's all for now. If you let me know on this depth, and you can really just say pull it back a foot or whatever, or 2 feet or whatever you want to do, and I can get together, I should be able to get together some sort of plan for them by tomorrow. That they can probably, I might be able to just get the entire set together and let them approve the whole thing. But that's where we are. Just wanted to update you. Feel free to telephone or email, text with any questions. Thanks very much. Be sure to tell me if I'm heading in the wrong direction entirely.